It is wonderful to be here this morning and talk to all of you about data privacy. So I'm Jodi Daniels. I'm a white female. I am short with pink flats, blue jeans, a black and white checkered blazer, a hot pink sweater, my heart necklace from my late grandmother, and long brown hair. I'm excited to be here and kick this off today. So let's get started. You heard a little bit that, yes, I love performing arts. There's a stage I could sing and dance, but I won't. Maybe later I can sneak in and do so. So I thought it might be fun to transport us back a little bit. There's a red arrow. Fun fact, that is not me where the red arrow is. That is, I don't know, the picture I have. I'm in the front. I'm like well, I don't even know how to describe me. I'm bottom left over there in the black shirt. This was my middle school keynote choral group. It was so much fun. We sang all kinds of fun classical tunes. But then before Glee was a show and it was cool to be in show choir, that was me over here. I'm on the bottom right. I have a thing of being like on the bottom, on the ends. I don't know why that is. But I love show choir, and I am a proud parent of a musical theater kiddo, and it is true delight to be here. I mentioned my grandmother. Arts run in my family, and I have a massive passion. Luke said it this morning. It's like a big hug. It's so true. All right, but we're here to talk about privacy. So you see, I could do this all day. Privacy isn't just about compliance and concerns about fines. It's a human right that we all deserve. More than ever, we need the arts. We need kindness. We need humor. We need emotional connection. What you all do every single day, Luke mentioned it this morning, and you'll hear it throughout your whole conference, is about your mission. Well, when customers trust you to show up and laugh and to have an amazing experience, to learn a new talent, when parents come and drop off their kiddos for excitement for a whole week at camp, or maybe just 2 hours, they trust that you're going to take care of their kiddo and teach them something. In the privacy space, they also trust you with the data. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to go on a little journey. Imagine this morning you left your hotel, your house, your train, or pretend it's like Monday, you're back at Regularville, and what are you doing? You're gonna grab your coffee, maybe you order it on your smartphone. You're gonna carry on. This is in the environment where you actually left your house. So pretend you're still in your house, that works too. But for those of you who actually go to a real physical location, maybe you've had to drop kids off at school, you go to the gym, you go to the office, somewhere along the way you're gonna have lunch, maybe it's delivered to you, maybe it's automatic, like, hi, you're going here. Remember, you ordered this every single day? We're gonna tell you again. You're gonna drive home, you're gonna use some of your really cool smart devices in your home, and at the end of the day, maybe you use your Alexa, your Siri, your smart TV to play your favorite tunes or TV. Now imagine that entire scenario, but I have a piece of paper and I'm writing down everything you are saying. After about 30 seconds, you're gonna stop and look behind me and say, what are you doing? Right? I don't know about you, but walking down the streets of New York, you're probably paying attention if someone's following you. Okay, it wouldn't take very long to kind of notice. But in the digital world, that is what is happening with every single piece of data. Every single thing that you are doing on your entire mobile and desktop and TV and smart devices are being tracked and linked together. People are noticing. They don't totally love this idea of every single thing being tracked about them. So between 70 and 80%, we have a couple statistics up here on the screen, of Americans are like, yeah, I don't know about that. I'm not sure I trust what companies are doing. And if I don't trust them, I won't do business with them. I could literally have like an entire deck of all kinds of stats, but I have lots of other things to talk about. So instead, we're gonna just explain how a privacy program, how having a solid privacy policy, everyone here has read a privacy policy, right? Yep, I know you all have. Oh, there were some hands in the audience. Thank you to the brave people who did that. But seriously, a privacy notice is an amazing start. We're going to talk about them. It explains what's actually happening in your program. That is the first place that customers are going to come and say, what are you doing with my data, and can I trust you? We're going to also talk about data breaches and how protecting data is also going to help make sure that you are a trusted organization. So, first, we're going to talk about a few laws. Don't worry, you're not going to become privacy law experts here. I was only given 45 minutes. But we're going to have a little bit of an understanding of a couple laws that you need to know about and how we kind of got to the place we are in today. So our friends to the north in Canada have a particular privacy law called PIPEDA. PIPEDA, kind of depends. It's like tomato, tomato. I call it PIPEDA. Anyways, they're in the process of actually making a more advanced law. And then we have what really kind of started the modern privacy movement called GDPR. Anyone ever heard of GDPR? Okay, a few people. Everyone, keep your hands up if you could be up on the stage and talk all about GDPR. No one else wants to be here except for me. Okay, so GDPR it's not actually the first privacy law, it's just the modern privacy law that got passed in the EU. The UK needed its own when it went off on its own, so it just copied it. It's also in the process of updating it. And for anyone here who has audience members in the UK, the good news is the UK is trying to make it a little bit simpler than the EU version. But this came with a long list of requirements. And what's interesting is everyone then thought, oh, those are the base, I have to apply them everywhere. And we'll learn that's not actually the case. But this got the party started in the USA. Thank you, Bruce Springsteen. So first came California. Fun fact, anyone ever heard of Cambridge Analytica? Okay, it's actually kind of how the California law came. It's a little bit of a cocktail conversation. Find me at lunch, I'll tell you the juicy details. But it's true, that's kind of how California came along. So that took a little while. Then Virginia, Colorado, Connecticut, my home state where I grew up, and then Utah. Oh, but we're not done because look at the chart. Everything in green has been signed and passed. That's 12 states. It took several years to get to 5. It took just this legislative season to get to 7. And the reality is there's actually a couple more, but it doesn't affect all of you, so we didn't put them on the picture. The ones in blue are actually the ones right now. It's not even the legislative season, and those states are like getting ready for the next legislative season. So pretty soon, if I came back here, we're going to have a lot more colors on the chart. Now notice I'm actually from Georgia these days in Atlanta. There's nothing there. Nothing. I get nothing. I have no privacy rights in Georgia. And we're going to talk about why that matters. So for those of you who like timelines, you can kind of see it took a while. GDPR was sort of like I shared, that modern version. Then came California. Then we got some other early adopters. I kind of call those the 5 base laws. Any of you creative people have a better title for me, I'm all for it. And then we have the next batch of these 7 other laws. So you might be thinking, that's a lot of laws, Jodi. I don't really want to comply with all those laws. Please tell me I don't have to. Well, the first part is that there are some myths, and we're going to talk about, do you actually have to comply with all of the laws, all of the details, all of the time? Or you might think, oh, good, I'm too small, I can ignore them all. No, actually, I wouldn't recommend that approach. I wouldn't recommend that you're too small, because here's the thing. The average customer has no idea that these laws exist, and they don't know the fine details of them all. So see, here in the United States, like all other good laws, and as a small business owner, I'm sometimes grateful that I'm exempt because I am too small. And they say there's a floor, whether it's employee count, revenue count, number of people that I process. But the reality is my employees still care, right? I still have to actually do kind of the right thing. And our customers feel the same way. Overseas, you just need one. Hire one employee in Europe, have one customer in Europe or the UK or Canada, and congratulations, you are in scope for those laws. So it just takes one over there. And again here, the point of the map and the growing trend is people don't know the difference. And we're going to talk about where that shows up. Another one, all websites actually don't need a cookie banner. Now there's the question of, should I have one or should I not have one? And in our presentation, you're going to be so excited. I am not Cookie Monster from Sesame Workshop, but it is my favorite food. We're going to talk about cookie banners and cookie consent and what that means for you. All marketing is not opt-in. Everyone thinks all marketing is opt-in. All marketing is not opt-in. Someone might say, well, no one cares about privacy. Why is the privacy lady up here today? I want to hear about cool AI. Don't worry, that's after lunch. But privacy matters. Privacy is important. And if you think your data's in the cloud and it's all good because it's there, like the person who told me the other day, oh, it's in Google. It's totally secure. Sorry, Luke left, so I can pick on Google. No, I'm just kidding. Luke actually did leave, but I won't pick on Google. The reality is that's not an accurate statement because there's two sides to the equation. There's actually what I or the organization has to do to protect the data, and then there's what the actual company does on its side to protect the data. So maybe Google is doing a good job on its side, but that doesn't mean the organization who's actually using the tool is doing anything that they're supposed to. And there's a number of different settings involved. So just because it's in the cloud does not make it automatically safe. Now, I did press the green button. There we go. You also might be saying, well, I'm a nonprofit. I don't have to pay attention. Well, globally, they don't care. They think whether you're a nonprofit or you're for-profit, you are still collecting data, and I, as the individual, matter. There's a couple states that believe that too. If you're in Colorado, soon to come Oregon and Delaware. Their view is many nonprofits operate just like for-profit companies, and again, you should be paying attention. Now, the states do have some floors in terms of revenue and or volume of people, so it kind of matters where you are, but I promised I wasn't going to make you privacy experts today, so that's the side conversation. But again, this theme is that your customers don't know the difference. The customers are not studying privacy maps. The customers are seeing what all the other companies are doing and have the same expectation of you. How would you feel if you went to the doctor's office, but you went to the solo practice because the big practice took like 5 months to get in, so you went to the person who left that big practice to the solo practice. And you walked in and they had no data protection. Your files, ever notice they're in the little folder, you know, so no one can see everything? But not in this office. No, in this office it's all out. Everyone can see everything. It's perfectly fine that they're using a non-secured email system. They have no good settings, and that would be okay. And they don't have to follow any of the health obligations, like HIPAA or anything. Anyone would be okay with that? Probably not. You have the same expectation from a small doctor's office as you would a larger organization. Now, that's the same scenario for our customers. They don't know the difference from I give data to a small organization to a large organization. It's just their data. I gave you my home address, my child's date of birth, my name, my email, my credit card, just like I gave it to another large organization. And they have the same expectations. When we're working with organizations on privacy, these are the big themes that show up. Someone has to pay attention to privacy. That's the idea of established governance. Policies and standards, that's that privacy policy that everyone here admitted that they read. And some internal privacy policies. There's also what we call a data inventory, and we're going to dive into that. This idea of a privacy impact assessment, no joke, an organization was like, do we have one of these right before I got on the stage? Individual rights, this is you get to opt out, delete, access information. Vendor, it's in the cloud, it's okay, not quite. Marketing, that's what you all are doing. Security, let's protect the data. Train people on what this privacy and security thing is all about, and then rinse and repeat. Now, the good news is we're going to cover some of the key important pieces for you here today. I'd love to cover them all, but you are going to want to eat lunch, so we won't. Let's first set the stage between the difference between privacy and security, because a lot of times, including my own parents, they think they're the same thing. So privacy is all about I collect data, how I use it, where I store it, and who else I might share it with. Security is I have a pile of data and I need to protect it from people who shouldn't have access to it. That's the simplest explanation. So imagine I have a pile of data. The IT people told me I'm allowed to use it, or everyone in the organization's allowed to use it. That's a security measure. How I take the data out and how I send it, how I see emails, what I do with it, what I was told, that's privacy. Here's your really quick security lesson, because we're going to focus on privacy today. So your really quick security lesson is on every single app. This is personal and for work. Wherever you can use what's called two-factor authentication, you want to do so. That is where you get that code to your phone or to an app. You want to have that set up. A really strong password plus two-factor authentication is what is going to help you significantly from identity theft, from wire fraud, from anyone coming and stealing your data. I've been on a number of panels with people from the United States Secret Service and the FBI, and these are their two favorite security measures. So I highly recommend anywhere you can put them in place, you do so. In terms of a strong password, let me just offer a strong password phrase plus a number or a symbol. It doesn't have to be crazy. And a fun fact that we've kind of adopted is add a secret phrase that maybe you don't store in a password manager that is secret to you on your really important account. So let's take your bank account. You could say, I love blue chairs, and then you have a secret code that's red. Maybe I don't put red in the password manager. So if anyone was able to steal your password, maybe your password manager is an actual password manager. Maybe it's an Excel document. I hope it's not the sticky note on the computer. But if they were to get it, then they wouldn't know your secret code, and it would be harder for them to get in. Make access controls. Everyone in your organization should not have access to every single piece of data. Make them separate. Train people on security practices and phishing. Phishing is so prevalent right now on any popular topic. The bad actors are happy to scam you. And they're really good at it. And they're using AI because they're showing up in all the AI workshops. They've learned what to do, and they are sending out those emails. Make sure you perform software updates. Anyone ever heard of Equifax before? Yeah, they missed that step. Don't be them. Require contractors to also pay attention. So privacy, I told you, is important and customers care. So this is Sephora over a year ago. They were the first ones to get in trouble with the California law. These are real headlines. I'm guessing you don't want to be in the headlines like them. So don't do that. But here's some other people who are in the headlines. Christie's. Christie's uploaded pictures for the auction of really popular rare art. Problem, it had the metadata attached to it. So Jodi, the anonymous person who uploaded the picture, you could figure out, based on that data, where I was located. That didn't really work out so well. Meta is always in the news. I could predict the news, so they're always in trouble for something. OpenAI and Microsoft, kind of similar situation, but the idea of AI is a really big piece. And I picked on Chick-fil-A just because they're a good representation of a growing trend of litigation lawsuits where you have a metapixel associated with a video. It is a very popular lawsuit right now. It is going against a particular privacy law called the Video Privacy Protection Act. Again, kind of an interesting thing. Just know that there are litigation people out there who have nothing better to do than to cause problems. So you want to understand the cookies on your site, and we're going to talk about that. First, you need to understand the data, because this whole privacy thing I've been mumbling about is all about data. You need to understand. This is, if you leave here today, I hope you know a few things. One of them is to know your data and to get started on it. You need to know what kinds of data you're collecting. Why are you collecting it? Are you collecting it because you think you need to use it and hopefully maybe one day in the future, or no, you need this data today? You want the latter. I need this data today, not maybe sometime I might use it in the future. Who are you sharing it with, and where are you storing it? Are you storing it in a variety of cloud servers? Do you have databases that you're storing it in? Have you shared it to agencies? How are you sharing it? Did you export it to Excel or a Google Sheets to them? Do they have access to everything? Did you give them a direct login? Do they have their own password? Are they sharing a password? All of those are really important questions. So to help you get started, all you need is a piece of paper. I have a fancy data inventory template if you'd really like one, but you also can just start with old-fashioned Excel or literally the piece of paper. What type of data are you collecting? So think about, you have name, an email address, a phone number, maybe credit card information. Maybe you have companies, so company information. You're gonna have tracking pixels probably on your site to be able to measure things. Also think about children's names, date of birth, medical information. Now, where do you store it? Think about all the tools you use. Who's your email service provider? Who's your actual document storage manager, your ticketing platform, your donation tool, your community, your login, all the places that you could possibly have data, list them all out. Now think about what do you do with it? You send messages, you send information, here's your tickets, here's your survey, here's information about the camp. Think about what you're actually doing with that information. And then ultimately, who else is getting it? So is it an email service provider? Is it an agency? Is it a law firm? Is it an IT firm? Is it a contracting firm? Who else is getting access to this data? As you can see here, what you might feel like, oh, we don't have that much data, you probably actually have a lot of data because it adds up really quickly. So, talking about data, cookies, they're my favorite. In case you wanted to get to know, gluten-free and dairy-free chocolate chip cookies are my favorite food. Just in case you were wondering. All right, but back to the digital form. I shared earlier that not all cookies are created equal and that you don't always need a cookie banner. So this is the most exciting section potentially for all of you marketers. So if you are in the UK or the EU, it is an opt-in approach. You need the cookie banner. You need the cookie banner for the people who are coming from the EU and the UK and a couple other places, but we're gonna just pick on them right now. And that is an opt-in experience. What that means, only a strictly necessary cookie to make the site function gets to fire before I hit accept. Now, unfortunately, you might decide that your advertising and analytics cookies are strictly necessary. Unfortunately, the privacy people don't agree with you. So all those advertising and analytics cookies for the people coming from the UK and the EU have to be opt-in. Here in the United States, it is an opt-out philosophy. It is not opt-in. You can choose to have it that way, for sure, but you don't have to. What you do have to do in a couple states, remember, not all the states, like Jodi in Georgia gets nothing. You don't have to give me anything. In fact, everyone sitting here in New York also doesn't need a cookie banner because there's no requirement to do so here. It might be a nice to have, it might be a great idea, but understand it's not an obligation. The obligation, if you have one, is to let me opt out of cookies and inform me at or before the time of collection in some of the states. So let's go a little bit deeper. I mentioned strictly necessary cookies. There's also a pile of them called performance and advertising and analytics. There's a couple others that people will sometimes separate for social media. Has anyone here used something called Hotjar or Full Story? Okay, all of you, if you have people who are in Florida, and there's another state that has escaped my brain at the moment, but those particular cookies are also a hot button for litigation. Those are called session replay cookies for the rest of you who are like, who's Full Story and Hotjar? They basically are keystroking. They're kind of collecting everything that is happening on the site. So remember I said, let's walk through the day of a life and I'm collecting everything on my little notepad, but we're doing that digitally? Yeah, that's what those are doing. And so litigation firms are going after companies like that. If you raised your hand, you really are going to want to have a little bit of some homework after this session to figure out what you are doing on your session replay and make sure you have the right disclosures and opt-outs in place. So let's also talk about our friends in California. Love California. But they have a really weird and unique definition of something called sale of data. And the sale of data in California is really important because it basically includes all the advertising and analytics cookies, and they call it a sale of data. So if you have any of those and you're big enough to have to deal with California, you have some extra special requirements that you have to disclose that you sell data, even though you might say, but I don't sell data. I know. I'm not the regulator, don't yell at me. But there's a couple other states that are following as well. Colorado and Connecticut and a couple others down the pike that are kind of following this idea that the advertising and analytics cookies that you have on your site so that you can retarget me so I come back and I actually buy the tickets that I didn't, well, that data goes off to the large big tech and social media platforms. They use it into their massive algorithm and pool, and therefore it has been deemed a sale of data. Other states, like our friends in Virginia and Utah, say no, just actually like dollars, that is a sale of data. Why is that important? Well, here's an attempt to try and explain the opt-in and opt-outs. You can see it's not clear per state, right? It's not exactly one way fits all, which is why some organizations just adopt an everything philosophy, including cookies. But you don't have to unless you want to. So it brings us back to my chocolate chip cookies. There are those French macaroons for you other people, but it's all about the chocolate chip. So seriously, let's talk about some consents. Okay. You don't want to block the site, especially on mobile. These are not mobiles, but you don't want to block the site. So rule number one, if you have a cookie banner, don't block the site. Don't block the content. You also want to have more than just I accept. See, in the top one, I can't do anything. There's no X, and I don't want to accept. And there's no way for me to make it go away. Who's annoyed by that? Yeah, see, that's not a good user experience. That's not a good example of how I'm connecting with the brand. I just want to get to your content, and I'm stuck with this banner in my way. We don't want that. Privacy is not supposed to be an inhibitor. It's supposed to be a connection to building trust. I like the Starbucks one because you can still have fun. You can still be on brand. You can still be creative. And what they've done here is they have the ability to have an agree with the change settings. Now, let's talk about what cookie banner should say. I know you're all going to take a picture of this. It's not the perfect language for your site. It's a sample language. So full disclaimer here, don't everyone go copy the cookie banner language and plop it on your site because it might not be applicable for your site, and we don't want to do more harm than good. What should a cookie banner say? Let's just get to the basics. They have to describe the kinds of cookies you have. Do you have advertising? Do you have analytics cookies? That's what you need to describe. Everyone here who rose their hand for session replay, you want to write the word session replay in your cookie banner language if you need a cookie banner. Personalized advertising, analytics, do you do anything with social? You want to describe what you're doing. If you have some questions, you'd like to see our policy, go here. If you'd like to make some choices, go here. That's the point of a banner, is to explain what's actually happening. That kind of makes some logical sense, right? Now, let's talk about some do's and don'ts. So this is like the most boring cookie banner ever. Don't copy this banner. But do you notice the accept and the reject? They're even colored. Okay, a dark pattern is where we move someone, we're trying to convince them to go and do something that's not necessarily in their best interest, it's in our best interest. Regulators don't like dark patterns, and you don't like dark patterns either. Ever been tricked where it's like, yes, I don't want the insurance, but you already have the box checked for the insurance, and then you get to the bottom and it was, wait, why is it $100 more? Right? That's a dark pattern. We don't like those. We don't want them in our cookies either. So clear language, clear fonts, same size, no trickery in terms of the colors. They should be symmetrical. In the first example where there was no way for me to opt out or get rid of the cookie banner, that's not a good example either, right? You want to be able to have the person close it out, hit reject, hit settings, be able to engage where they can trust you as a brand, because that's what this is about. You might be wondering for some tools. The ones on the left are some paid models. They're still pretty inexpensive per month for the domain. They tend to charge like per domain. And we work with these all day long, OneTrust and Osano. And then there's some freemium models that are here on the right. There's literally, if you go and Google, like 100 different ones. I will highly recommend, if you have the need for a cookie banner and you are on a WordPress site, I don't like the WordPress plugins. So please go get one of these or any of the other 75 that I didn't mention that are at least not a WordPress plugin. The reason I don't like them, I don't think they work right. They don't have the right flexibility that you need to be able to move in this universe. So let's talk a little bit about kind of data you're collecting and opt-outs. So these are just some examples of how you might be receiving data. Maybe you're sending information out to people, hey, sign up for this really cool webinar or session that we're having. So I'm going to opt in. Maybe you're a site where I can buy something. Again, I'm going to opt in, so I would share my email address. Okay, what am I expecting out of that? I'm expecting you're going to send me whatever it is I signed up for. Orbit, slight plug, my daughter's musical theater company. Awesome, awesome. Anyone who has connections to Broadway, we love them. All right, just had to say. I told you I was going to dance on the stage as best I could. All right, but some others are going to be, right, how can I engage with your site? So just examples, think about how are people opting in on your site? What does that experience look like? Is there a privacy notice anywhere on the page of what that's going to look like? Am I asking for data that kind of makes sense to you? Anyone ever receive a catalog and they wish they didn't and they'd really want it to go away, or a flyer in the mail? How do you allow for that? Because the reality is that actually is cost, right? There's our physical printing and mailing, and I don't know about you, but mail is expensive. And so we don't want to send it to people who really don't want them. Many times people think if I offer an opt-out, oh my gosh, I'm going to have no one left. No, actually, if you offer it, people are more appreciative. They trust that you're not hiding anything. And one of my favorites, I don't have a screenshot here, but if you have an unsubscribe, I highly recommend, I call it the save the unsubscribe. Don't have a one-click unsubscribe. Maybe you're just sending too many emails that they don't like, but give them the choices. I want just the donation ones, but not the ticket ones. Or I don't want the kid ones, and I just want the event ones. But if you send mass to everybody, then they might get annoyed. And if you only have a one-click unsubscribe, then you're going to lose them. Instead, giving them choices is actually going to keep them. And that is privacy and building trust with people. So in the world of privacy and individual rights, it's actually more than just opt-out. Because many of these laws have the requirement of access and delete. Let's just use email as an example. I've had a really horrible experience with your organization. I don't like you anymore. I want to be deleted. That means you have to go into my MailChimp or HubSpot or Jackrabbit or whoever you're using and not just opt me out, but hit the delete button. Like actually hit delete. Now some of you might say, but do I like delete everything? Those are some really great questions. You kind of have to prove that you actually had a sale, so you don't want to delete the financials. But let's just say it was an email. I was on your list. I hadn't engaged with you yet. Some of that information, marketing-wise, you'd have to actually delete me, but I'm probably not in one system. You'd have to go back to your trusty, handy data inventory that you completed and be able to know where all of my data is and delete me everywhere. So that's a process. You're going to need to think about how do you do that. I've read some of the privacy notices of some of the people, and sometimes they say everyone has this capability. Are you prepared for everyone to have that capability in your organization? Would you want dozens of these kinds of requests to get filled? What your privacy notice says is really important to match what you could actually operationalize. And this slide is meant to show you the steps you're going to have to think about. How are you going to receive those? How will you process them? Who's going to do that? What are you going to say? How do you make it consistent? Where do you store them? How do you find the data? Who's going to actually delete the data? Oh, and by the way, you actually have to do all of this within 45 days in the United States and 30 days if it's a EU or UK person. And globally, it tends to be like 30 days. So you're going to want to think about a process and what does your privacy notice say. All right, so this is one of my favorite slides. Because I want you to really think about the data that you collect in your organization. We talked about it before. We talked about a data inventory and thinking about it. But I want you to really think about the kind of data that you have. I mentioned I'm a parent. I've sent my kids to Orbit Arts Academy, but also to some other places. And when I give them information, like to my local county-run arts organization, what do I know about how they're managing my child's date of birth? Or any kind of medical information that I've given them. I'm on the committee for an annual appeal, and I have all kinds of really interesting information about donors and levels that they've given. Well, where's that information stored, and who else has access to that? And how are you protecting it? So only the people who should really have access do. And then how are you potentially augmenting that? Are you buying data from a third party so that you can send an outreach to a certain group of individuals to either participate in your programming or to give to your organization? That's also some really sensitive information. Sensitive information is not actually only financial driven. In fact, in the states, financial data is not a sensitive data field according to state privacy laws. Most people will say, but I don't collect the credit card information, I just have name, email, home address, parents' names, children's names, favorite pet names, favorite color, name of school, name of teacher, medical diagnoses, that's all I have. Sometimes you might be asking race, ethnicity, gender, all of that, also sensitive information. So think about what are your customers giving you, how are they entrusting you, and what are you doing with it? So if I buy tickets, you want me to do more at your organization. Is it more tickets? Is it make a donation? Is it show up to a camp? Is it show up to an event? Do you partner with other organizations and like multiples of you come together to do something in a joint capacity? If that's the case, you're gonna wanna think about how does that work collectively? Are you sharing data between the organizations? If you are, who's like on first? Who's the first person to collect it and share it? Because it can't actually go in 5 places at the exact same time. I mean, maybe AI can figure that out, but not really. So what I want you to do is every time you're gonna do something new, like a brand new idea, a brand new way to market something, I want you to think about what's the kind of data. Is it sensitive? Is it required? Where will it be stored? What will my customer think? What about my privacy notice and what privacy laws are in scope and how to protect my data? So privacy notices. This is the opportunity to connect and tell the person what you're collecting, using, storing, and sharing. It's the way of how you build trust. Sometimes they're fun, cool brand, cool tone, great pictures, good visuals, break it all up with hyperlinks. Other times they're long and boring and legal. Either way, they're still right. The most important thing is this. Say what you do and do what you say. The point of a notice is to, here's everything I ever needed to tell you about our organization and the data that I collect and use and store and share about you. Oh, but I'm not gonna actually do anything or pay attention to that policy. That would not be a very good plan. So how do you get started? Rule number 1, do not copy someone else's privacy notice, because what they have is what they do, not what you do. You are unique and special, and you need to understand that and put only what is unique and special to you in there. I have seen this go the other way. It is not a good idea. There are a number of different privacy generators out there. If you are a smaller organization and a more simple type of data operation, one of these generators might be great for you. If you have a little bit more complexity, then I highly recommend you find someone who knows how to do anything with a privacy notice. And what you're looking for is how many of these have they done? How do they keep up with privacy laws? And making sure that you're going to get a document that meets your needs and that is compliant. And fun fact, you might do a special web page for a landing page for a special event. Treat your privacy notice as a footer link that needs to be on every single page possible. Every page. Always put it there. What goes into a privacy notice? These are some big sections. What data is collected, used, shared. By now you should be like, Jodi, I got it. Collected, used, shared. Also, the cookies. Everything you ever wanted to know about trackers and pixels and cookies, that goes in the privacy notice too, with how to opt out of them. You might have to list all the cookies, you might not. Kind of depends on where you are. Choices, can I unsubscribe? I heard SMS messaging earlier. How do you describe SMS? How do you describe email? How do you describe the cookies? Everything around opt-out. There's a couple other special legal paragraphs that need to go into those. That's why really making sure that you're either using a generator that knows all of that and that you can customize. That's another important piece. If you use any kind of policy type generator, you want to be able to customize it to you. And some of those you can, and some of those are like, not so much. So make sure you can customize it to you, and it has all the other standard paragraphs that are sort of the long and boring parts. Third parties, I hinted at this before. Just because you put it in the cloud does not make it safe at all. I hear this all the time. You have settings on your side, and then you need to know who are the people on the other side and what are they doing with the information. Part of the strange sale of data in California is because the third party getting the data, large, big tech, social media-like companies, are using the data to help build their algorithm. That is a separate use. I have seen deep in some of the contracts of all kinds of really cool tools, oh, I get to use the data too. Do you want them using your data too? I didn't think so. So you're going to want to make sure you read the terms, and depending on who they are, maybe you have a contract. If you're working with an agency or contracting firm, again, make sure that they are understanding the privacy laws and how they're going to help you. Training. Data privacy is everyone's responsibility. It is not the IT person's responsibility. That is security. Data, actually I would argue, everyone's job is security as well. But data privacy is very much an organizational requirement. So how do you do this? Well, think about, let's start with marketing. What emails and promotional materials are you using? Do you need opt-in? Do you need opt-out? Do you have a privacy notice where it's supposed to be? Do you have a landing page? Are you using cookies? You have to kind of go through that checklist to be able to make sure that you have checked the box. Are you clear with where the data is coming from? Is it coming from me when I signed up on the site? Is it coming from me when I signed up on an actual form at your physical event? Did I buy it from a third party? Where did I get it? Think about the customer first. Put the customer in the middle of all your conversations. As you're thinking about, I'm going to have this great new idea. Is that a good idea? Will my customer like it? I don't know. Will they like it? It might be a wonderful event. Yes, wonderful. What kind of data am I collecting? Think about it there too. Make sure you have good security measures so you are not the next business email compromise and wire fraud example, and everyone is going to have a strong password and sign up for two-factor authentication everywhere after this session today. Some tools to get started on training. Find a security training provider. One of my favorites right now, and it's actually very affordable, we're using it personally in my organization, it's called Goldfish. Happy to make an introduction, I really like them. Kind of fun, easy to use, great for phishing. It's wonderful to test all the people in your organization and catch them on their phishing scams. But no, really, it's about trying to teach them and make sure that they're good. And you want to think about privacy for the newbies. Who are you hiring? What are your procedures? Think about all the different marketing activities you're going to have. Add the privacy piece as well to those steps. So where do you go from here? I hope by now you've realized that privacy is about trust. It's about connecting with your customer. They have entrusted you with their data. They've also entrusted that you're going to make them laugh and have a wonderful time and deliver a great experience for them and create that wonderful memory. Teach them a new skill, but they've also trusted you with their data. Privacy is here to stay, is not going anywhere. We're going to have more laws, which also creates greater expectations for customers, because the more laws, the more awareness. The bit more companies have to do this, the more customers think, oh, this is like everything now. Everything is just the way this is, which means all size organizations are going to have to start paying attention to privacy. So to get started, someone needs to pay attention to privacy. Maybe it's you, maybe you voluntold someone, maybe you volunteer someone, maybe you anoint someone, I don't know, hire someone from someone has to pay attention to privacy. Update your privacy notice by not copying somebody else's. Get started on understanding your data. Review your cookie consent setup and figure out, does it meet the requirements? Do you need one? Is it a good experience? Begin the data inventory and review the marketing piece. Phase 2, dive deeper into the marketing practices. Complete the data inventory. Review your vendors. Think about that individual rights process if it applies to you. And then, woohoo. Tips for success. Someone has to own this. This isn't set and forget. So once you go and do all the things on phase 1 and phase 2, it's not like, woohoo, I'm done. That was the baseline. It is here to stay. It's just like everything else. That just has to be maintained. If you've learned something today, I hope it is that you have thought about how you collect data, how you use it, where you store it, where you share it. Inform people of what you're doing and give them choices. And put the customer first from a data perspective. I'm so glad I was able to be here today with you. I hear there's a fancy trivia question, and there is a book. I actually have one extra copy that I brought with me if you don't win the trivia and you'd like to find me. You also can find it on Kindle for 99 cents. It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month for a few more days. And here's all my contact information. If you found privacy fun and interesting, I'm on LinkedIn. I would love to be able to connect with you. And again, I'm so grateful to be here today. So thank you.